What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now, I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Pharaoh from Monte and the Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monte and the Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh. Later.
All right, welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. As always, at the board is our trusted superhero, Jared Spidey Man. Spidey?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
How do you call him Spidey instead of Spidey Man?
Spidey Man?
Yeah.
Why would I call him Spidey Man?
Because he's a man.
I wouldn't call it. First of all, Spider-Man would sound more normal than Spidey Man.
That's probably right, yeah.
What on earth? I call him Spidey because he swooped in and saved the day when we had somebody hacking up the board.
Yeah. I can't.
That's
I didn't turn this thing on.
Wow, it's on! I did it! Congratulations. Oh, boy. Oh.
Hey, Spidey, Pharaoh was telling me when you were trying to help him, he was slapping your hands.
You got your hands slapped away from the board, huh?
That happened one time.
One time is one time too many, my friend.
Well, wait a minute. Was he? How was he like? You're going to reach it when he slaps it? Like what happened?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
It was pretty much.
I know what I'm doing. Wow. Did you laugh, Spidey? You laughed, didn't you? When it happened?
I thought it was kind of funny, yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Because the funny thing was that he was struggling too. So he slapped my hand, and then I just sat there and just watched him struggle.
Oh shit! I hit the mute.
Well, the worst thing is I brought all those shows on and he hacked them all to
Every
death.
single one of them.
Every day at work I get calls. This guy sucks. You're destroying our shows.
What about when Elvis's bodyguard threatened to use kung fu on you? I mean, it's just like you're trying to.
Dude, there's nothing worse.
Trying to give a good product and you're getting threatened to be like.
There's nothing worse. Who's the guy from? Jesus Christ.
There's too many.
The guy
Which
from
one?
the Pope of Greenwich Village. Help me.
The Pope of Greenwich Village.
Who's the actor? Help me, come on. I can't remember his name.
Wait a minute. You mean Roberts?
Yeah, Erich Roberts.
What about Roberts? He's Doctor Who, the master to me.
He calls me up and goes, "You're destroying my reputation."
His reputation?
Yeah.
He hasn't been Doctor Who in 30 years, and he was only Doctor Who for
But that's how
he
bad
wasn't
it is.
even Doctor Who.
Jeff, with his great producing, single-handedly took down the King's bodyguard.
Yeah.
The Bloodsport guy, Frank Dukes. Frank Dukes is like, "I'll kill that guy."
It was crazy.
Eric Roberts, I hate this guy.
It was bad.
It was.
What about going back to porn for what's her face? She's like, "That's it. I'm going back to make movies."
I'm going back to make movies.
I was like, "This is crazy."
Onasi's like, "I'm done. I'm going back to have a penis in my ass."
Yeah, she was like, "This one hit the P spot." I'm like, "The P spot, puke." I'm like, "Wow, the P spot."
Wow, good job, Jeff.
Yeah, you did awesome. You did great.
One time I had Tony Atlas in here. We were going to film Tuesdays with Tony.
Good Lord.
He couldn't even turn on the computer.
What about when he was excited?
Tony Atlas was like, "I can do a better job."
Did you see Tony's eyes get big when he was like, "Wow, I turned it on"? And like Tony was like, "He's going to be in charge of the show."
Oh my God!
I was like, "Oh shit!"
Wow.
Yeah.
We had some famous people.
Yeah, we did.
And he
They all hate
destroyed
us.
They all hate us.
It went well. It went very well.
And Spidey's sitting there just
Of
laughing
course,
as this guy's
Spidey's laughing.
thumbing through.
Yeah, but I mean, the second Spidey walked in, I looked at the kid and I'm like the little hearts popped out of my eyes. I was just like, wow, is that the guy who's going to save the day?
I'm in love.
I was in love with his abilities. I was just like, wow, this kid knows what he's doing. I was
Listen,
like, you see that
I
kid over there?
I don't want to go off the rails because we
It's
got
too late.
an icon on the phone.
Yeah, we do.
We have to have a
Yeah,
commercial break.
That we do.
Pharaoh shooter who killed 2 Mississippi cops ID'd as a 43-year-old mom and a veterinarian. The Mississippi woman who shot to death 2 cops in a hotel parking lot was identified Thursday as 43-year-old veterinarian and mother as she pulled the trigger in front of her young daughter, police said. Amy Brogdon Anderson of Ocean Springs is accused of open fire. Is Scott Casey from Mississippi?
He said Bigfoot country.
Maybe he is. Maybe he knows this woman.
I
I know her. She helped my dog.
Well, at least she didn't shoot anybody in front of a cat or something like that.
Oh, God forbid.
Well, she's a veterinarian after all.
But
This is
things about that,
horrible.
like killer mom.
This is horrible, dude. Who would do this in front of their kid? What was the problem? Does it say what the problem
I
was?
guess she was angry.
She was angry.
She might have been angry over this. You ready?
I don't understand. She was
No.
reportedly well liked in the community.
Well, no. You know what she was angry over?
What?
Our next story.
Oh.
Idaho Potato Commission releases limited edition potato perfume. Maybe she was angry. She got some bad potato perfume.
Why would...
The Idaho Potato Commission announced it's celebrating Valentine's Day. This article's old. I don't know where the hell I pulled this from. And the state's signature crop with a limited edition product.
Celebrating Valentine's Day.
Potato.
It's coming.
perfume.
What are you talking about? It's right around the
Oh,
corner.
there you go.
That's what this is all
All right,
about.
I'm sorry. Thanks for saving
Yeah,
me.
no,
on that.
you're fine. No, this is a...
Potato perfume.
Yeah.
Fritz by Idaho. You get to smell like a fresh plate of French fries.
I'm sorry. I'm holding out until they get me something that smells like Doritos from my armpits. Screw that. I want ranch. What is this shit? This is ridiculous. Idaho. Do they do dark russet?
Oh my God, that's pretty good.
Why not? Or is it russet?
Sweet potato fries.
Sweet potato. You'd smell sweet. That'd be nice.
How about the Jeff R perfume?
What is that? Oh no.
Put it
that's-
on and
wait.
instantly destroy lives.
I heard it stinks.
Wow.
That's bad.
To the right of the show is our star, Mr. Jimmy Pharaoh.
Hi.
I'd like to thank the band that sings the theme song for the Monte and the Pharaoh show. Our own Jimmy Pharaoh, along with his partner Bart Griggs, make up the band. Wisteria Hall.
Bart, man.
Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dream, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page.
Find it.
Spotify, Apple Music, Reverb Nation, where music is sold, and I personally am waiting for the 3rd album.
Mm-hmm.
I am anxiously awaiting because I need some when I get back into the gym, which I'm getting close to now.
Okay. How close are you?
I started in my basement a little bit, weak as hell, but I'm trying. So
okay.
one step at a time.
Jeez, I need like a free straight month to do this, to make another record. I better hurry up. Okay.
Before I continue, I want to do a shout out. First of all, I want to thank everybody who's supporting the new YouTube page. We are now monetized, so I want to thank Mitch Seinfeld, Jason Morning,
Mitch. Thank you,
RJ.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Davis, the First Lady of Wrestling.
Maria.
JBO2.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see who else is in it. Roy Batiste, always love to see you. Jay
Roy?
Will, always great to see you.
What's up, Jay
Chris
Will?
Lee, I'm worried about you, buddy. You haven't
What?
texted me in a week.
Maybe he's hanging out with Outback Jack.
He might be.
You know?
Phil Desiree, good evening.
Desiree. Hi, Phil Desiree.
We've got Andrew Chrome Joe. Just found you guys again. Glad you
Cool.
did.
Cool.
We're
Welcome
slowly
back.
getting back there. We got again.
Cool.
Thank you guys for rebuilding us
Thank you.
after
Thank
we
you.
got taken out. ESO in the house.
ESO,
Talked to Bruce the other day,
Bruce.
and we're making a big push as we're bringing in icons like the person we're going to speak to after the commercial break, Mr. Scott Casey,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got shows over the weekend. So very excited. If you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling show, Monte and the Pharaoh. Monte and the Pharaoh could also be seen on the Monte and the Pharaoh iHeart Radio, Spotify, Anchor, Twitch TV, Channel 115 in New York, where you'll see Scott Casey, or hear Scott Casey, in the reduced version every Tuesday. Channel 115 at 7 p.m. and Saturday at 11:30 a.m. and Channel 20 on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Where over 150,000 people are watching us weekly in New York.
Wow, it's gone up.
We're doing pretty well.
Cool.
We want to thank our new sponsor, Manscaped, which me and Jimmy and Tony Atlas will be filming a commercial.
I am not shaving.
So right
Tony's
now,
potato armpits.
our official movement with the sponsor has started, guys. So you get 20% off of Manscaped just for Christmas, right? At Manscaped for free shipping and promo. Use code MANDP.
Wow.
MNP. Get it?
Yeah.
MANDP.
Yeah.
At manscaped.com. You could see it right on the bottom of the thing, right? And, Pharaoh, you got your own set here. They sent you your own set. You could shave them nut sacks and get yourself cleaned up.
Shave my nut sack.
I found recently, maybe
Might
I
be
can
there a
reveal
while.
this. Pharaoh likes to toss a little salad. Maybe you could shave some of those women's tiny holes.
Toss a little salad? Where the fuck? I don't even eat salad. What are you talking about?
You don't know what toss salad means?
No, what does that mean? I've heard it, but I've never.
Hold on, before we go to commercial break,
salad.
before we go to break,
what the?
I would tell you, but I want maybe the fans to tell you what tossing salad is.
Here we go, guys. Don't.
Guys,
help
can
him
someone
out.
make it
What are
clear
you
to?
doing? What is tossing
So
salad?
it says Manscaped is awesome product, guys. If you can support us, get a Christmas gift for one of your friends. Use that code. Show them the support for Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Tossing salad is eating ass, my friend.
That's tossing salad.
Tossing salad.
Oh, like you might accidentally get a crouton in your tongue? That's disgusting. That is gross.
You could use the Manscaped trimmer so you don't get any hair in your mouth.
Dude, all you really need
Or
is...
you could, if you're in the
all you
the
really
safari,
need are two things. You need a resume from the person and a bar of soap.
Okay. If you're going to go chow down in Chinatown.
Why are we talking
If you're going to
about
chow
this?
down in Chinatown,
Yeah?
you can shave that all up, clean that up.
Wow. All right. What,
don't
like
wanna
you
get-
can't find it?
You don't want to get hair in your mouth.
No, you don't. That's true.
Manscaped.
That can happen on the other end,
Right
too.
here.
When you're tossing
The
salad.
weed,
It can,
the weed whacker. Use it.
Who the hell tosses?
All right.
Oh, God. The weed whacker.
Phil says, "Oh, Mike, glad you didn't say peel a potato like Conan used to say. Very funny. I love it."
Oh, shit.
Jason says tossing salad is essentially bottom feeding.
Oh.
Ooh,
okay.
Jason, I must agree.
Pudding pie? Is that what we're getting at here?
Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break where we get to speak to
Mandy Rhodes instantly says, Mike, I demand you eat my pudding. You're not doing it. We'll be right back with the former Texas heavyweight champion, by the way, Mr. Scott Casey.
in a sec.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
You want to star in your own success? Call QuickCast. www.quickcast.com. 866-7-CAST-NOW. That's 866-7-CAST-NOW. QuickCast.
Star in your own success.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast. Monte and Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island, where we are starting with our first leg of a very
Busy weekend.
good, busy weekend.
Really busy.
The legend, Mr. Scott Casey. Scott Casey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm down here in Bigfoot country in Arkansas, but it's colder than my ex-wife's kiss. But outside of that, it's a great place.
Well, Scott, I think the most pending question we have to ask you is, have you ever tossed someone's salad?
Would you please? Oh, my God.
How did I ever toss someone's salad.
No, have you?
Have you, sir?
We know how. Mike
We know
explained
how.
it.
Have you? Have you ever tossed someone's salad?
Oh, boy.
No, I usually let them do it themselves, you know. They may not like it the way I do it.
How the hell did they get the tongue around to the other side? What are you talking? Wait a minute.
Oh, Scott, I love it.
Good answer, though. I can go with that.
So, Scott, thank you for joining us. How's your health and how's your family, my friend?
Very good, very good. I've been living here. If you know anything about the map of the United States, Arkansas and Louisiana butt up to each other, okay? And I live, if you were to throw a rock from my house, it would land in Louisiana. I mean, it's a state line.
Oh, you're right on the line. Right on the line.
Down here, you know, people, I mean, you know, people are always going, you ask them something like, how do you get to here? Well, you go this way, and if you don't turn right there, you're going to have to go on down to the next exit and come back. You know, I mean, the people are, I mean, they're friendly and nice, but they're Southern, you know, and it's, it can get confusing at times.
Turn this way and you turn that way.
Yeah, you turn this way and you turn that away, and I have my better half here telling me how to talk on the radio. I've only been doing it for 50.
Yeah, you might have had.
God damn.
You might have had a salad or two in the
Yo,
past.
Scott, I got to tell you, I spent 2 years in Louisiana, and I will never go back.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I don't blame you, Lewis. I'm gonna knock you out if you don't shut up here. Okay.
Wow, we got a match live on the air. Look at this. Should I ring the bell? Oh my God.
Scott, good friend of ours, Nick Massey, the captain, co-authored a book with you, One Last Ride. What made you write that book?
What made me write it? I just decided, you know, I wanted to tell it my way, you know, and it's, you know, you don't realize until you're in the business that everybody wants to be number one. Everybody wants to talk about you. Everybody wants to tell their side of the story of what you did and what you didn't do. And one thing, you know, I was married a couple of times, but I don't talk about the wives. It's just, you know, who needs it, you know? I mean, I can tell enough bad stories about people that curl your ears, honest to God. But I went around the world 9 times, 9, N-I-N-E, in case you're wondering. And I went to, let's see, places like Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Japan, and there's no place like home, guys. There really isn't. You know, I mean, I went to Israel. That was a trip. We went over there, and I was working for Joe Blanchard, and we got off the plane. We flew into Tel Aviv. And there must have been probably 20,000, 30,000 people waiting to see us because they had seen our TV show for years but never saw us. And it was quite an experience. They had everybody that wasn't a wrestler got off the plane. We got off the plane in the back of it, not in the front. And they had what they call the Mossad, which is like a, I don't know, how would you put that? It was, I'm trying to think of the best way. It's like a Secret Service type of thing. You don't fuck with these guys. They're key in a heartbeat. Anyway, they waited until everybody got off the plane. We got off the back of it. And I told somebody, I know what it feels like, and this sounds braggadocious, but it's true. I know what it feels like to be Elvis Presley. People were pulling my shirt, grabbing my hair, women were screaming and carrying on, and it was kind of frightening. But you know, like I said, you watch the TV show for years, and then all of a sudden, here's these big guys coming off the plane, and it was a different experience. Well, Australia was kind of like that too, but Israel was something else. We got over there, and we were teaching their guys how to wrestle the way we did, and the Palestinians came over, wrestlers, and they did a strange thing. They got down on their knees, and they're facing you, and they turned their hand. Well, if I was on my knees, turn my hand upside down, kind of, and I said, "What the hell's he doing?" And our spokesman for the group said it was his way of saying thank you so much for coming and for teaching our guys how to wrestle. So you did a lot of different things. Just like in Japan, oh my God! I will go back and forth with different incidents that happened to me, so bear with me sometimes. But anyway, the Palestinians wanted us to come to Palestine, and the Mossad, the guys I was telling you about, they said, "No, you don't want to go there." I said, "Why?" I said, "They want to pay me $10,000 a week." "What do you mean?" He said, "You get over there, they'll kidnap you, and we'll never hear from you again." I said, "Well, that would be a good reason not to go."
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that would be.
It's a strange country, huh? Go ahead.
Scott, you mentioned of course, the famous name Blanchard. How did you start working with the Blanchards? How did that come about?
I had quit wrestling for a while, and it was a personal thing that I'm not going to go into. But anyway, I get a call from Joe Blanchard and Wahoo McDaniel and Tully Blanchard. All three of them are on phones. And I said, "What's up?" They said, "Well, we would like for you to come down. We're starting up Southwest Championship Wrestling." And I thought, I don't know. And they gave me a money figure, and I said, "Well, maybe you're convincing me to come see you." But anyway, I went there, and they wanted me to be a heel. I get in the ring with Tully, and we're doing our thing. And next thing I know, they turned me babyface in the ring. And that's how I got started there in San Antonio, one of the greatest places in the world to live. The food's magnificent. The people are really nice. I can't say enough things about San Antonio. But that's how I got started, and that was in 1970. I mean, most of these people living are listening to this probably weren't even born when I was wrestling. But yeah, I'm an old fart now. But anyway, we were there, and we had a lot of fun, made some money, chased a lot of women, and just had a great time. That's how it started, though. They wanted me to be a heel, but when I got in the ring and I wrestled Tully, he turned me and I turned myself babyface because that's what I'd always been. And there you go.
Well, you always looked like a babyface to me anyway. You didn't seem like you had that heelish look to you, you know?
I was too good looking for my own good. My mother used to say that. She said, "You're going to get yourself in trouble so many times." Boy, was she right.
So here's something. We're not wrestling historians or experts, right? But one guy I found out that you wrestled in Blanchard's area was a guy that I was a huge fan of. His whole career was Adrian Adonis. Can you tell us what it was like working with Adrian Adonis, and what type of person was Adrian Adonis in real life?
Well, his real name was Keith Franks, and God bless his soul, he's dead now. I think he was in a car accident or something like that. Mm-hmm. But a hell of a guy, and he talked 90 miles an hour like most of you guys from up north, and he could turn on a dime. He had a strange body. From the waist up, he was huge, and from the waist down, he wasn't. But I mean, he could do anything in the ring, and I had a good time wrestling. And matter of fact, I won the belt from him when I was there. He was leaving, and I won the belt from him. He went back up to New York, and he was working for Vince and doing some sort of gimmick where he was wearing a dress.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey, whatever it takes to make $1, right?
Yep.
Somebody said, paint me purple and peel me like a grape. Well, yeah, okay, if it makes money.
There you
And
go.
that's what it was. We were there to do our best, and the wrestling nowadays is almost completely different compared to what it was. And we I watch it sometimes, and sometimes I don't, because I was trained a different way. I was trained by Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, Bobby Duncombe, and Dick Murdoch.
Wow.
And hell, I was, these guys were supreme talent. But if you put them in the ring nowadays, people would probably go, "Oh, I'm not for that," But that's the way it was, everything changes in time, and you either go with the flow, or else, you sit on the sidelines and go, "Nah, I'm not buying it," But that's the way it was, and I don't think I watched one program and nobody ever got a headlock. Nobody ever got a armbar or a lot of suplexes, but it's changed so, pardon my French, fucking much. You just can't believe what these guys do now. I mean, if they're not doing triple back flips off the top rope and stuff like that, well, the people are going to go, well, okay, I'm not for it, but that's what they want to do. But it's just, you just have to, like I said, go with the flow, and either you do it their way or you don't do it at all,
Scott, can I ask you a question? Here's the deal. So, I get it, right? The older wrestlers, there was that certain allure to wrestling and the believability, right? The curtain wasn't peeled back. So, just like you're saying, and just like many of the older wrestlers saying, they're not big fans of the new wrestling. Here's a question for you, though. Does it bother you that guys like us and so many others now are involved in the sport that you made famous, and that we're kind of allowed into this picture? Like, how does the wrestler look at the fans that now think, not that we think we're part of the business, but are somewhat like involved in the business?
We get lumped into the people who think that they're in the business because they have a show, if you know what I'm saying. Does the media thing kind of like blow your mind and annoy you, considering the purist standpoint you so enjoyed growing into this business?
Well, it was really different when I got in there. I mean, Terry Funk and I were good friends, and he said, "You want to try to wrestle?" I said, "Yeah, I'd like it, But to what you're saying, you had to pay your dues back then, and that meant the living shit beat out of you more than you got anything else." And I went from Amarillo, Texas, to Tampa, Florida. Now, that's a long ass way, and I'm in a little Volkswagen, and I'm driving down there, and I get down there, and I meet these guys, Dennis McCord, Austin Idol is what they call him, Bob Roop. Let me think of some of the other guys. Butch McCrary, and I remember Bobby Duncombe said before I went down there, he said, learn how to do jumping squats. And if you know what that is, you better be able to do a few. I got to where I could do 500 of them at a time. And I get down there and Hiro Matsuda, who was part of the office there, and also the teacher of the wrestlers. Excuse me, I got the belting. Anyway, he said, I want you guys to start doing jumping squats. Well, thank God Bobby Duncombe and Terry said learn how to do them. And I did 500 and impressed Matsuda. Because all of us were greener and goat shit anyway, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. I mean, we had obviously a good idea of it, but we didn't know that's what it would take. When I say pay your dues, try doing 500 of anything, and you tell me how you feel after you get through. It was unreal. But, you know, you just, I mean, this has been almost 50 years ago, or longer. And people go, you did that? Well, and I sit there and think about it. I wonder what they have to go through now to get in the business. Obviously, the old timers were going to make money off of them. You know, you had to pay your dues, pay the teacher, and it was quite an experience. You know, the only thing that saved me is I was good looking, and the girls liked me. And I paid my dues there.
So how did you feel when they told you when you were first starting that you were going to be a heel against Tully? Did you have a preference? Like, were you much more comfortable playing the heel, which you obviously played a lot? I mean, was that?
I very rarely played the heel.
Right.
I was always a baby face.
Right.
And I knew Tully, and I knew Wahoo, and I knew Joe. And I quit for about, 6 months, something like that. And then back in when they brought me down there, and they paid me good money, and at that time what I thought was good money. And it was different. I mean, everything's different nowadays, guys. Everybody wore tights back then.
Right.
I mean, short pants. And nowadays, everybody wears the long pants, and everything has changed so much. But just like anything in life, if you're at it for a while, it'll change, and it did for me. But I learned so much from guys. I went to the Carolinas. I worked with guys like Nelson Royal, Swede Hansen.
Swede.
Who else? So much getting old, you remember, you forget everything.
Scott.
Long list of
shit.
Scott.
Anyway, Mr. Wrestling, trying to think.
Is Blanchard underrated to you, by the way? I wanted to ask you that because Tully Blanchard, of course, Four Horsemen, et cetera, et cetera. But do you feel like he's underrated after all these years? He doesn't get mentioned enough?
No, I met Tully down there, and I'd wrestled for a while, then quit, then came back, and he was very nice. In my book, I wrote he was a real prick because
all right,
it was his father's business,
right,
and he did things a different way, and he had an attitude. But I'd been in the business long enough. I told him, I said, don't fuck with me, Tully. I said, I know where you're coming from. I know what you're doing, so don't. And he started laughing, and he said, okay. Anyway, he and I got along pretty good after that. But
there you go.
At first, he thought his shit didn't stink.
Right.
And now he's a preacher or something like that. I'm sure God rolled over in his grave or whatever. Because he was arrogant, but he had a right to be. He played ball at West Texas State University. Met Roger Staubach, Remember him, the quarterback
Absolutely.
for Dallas Cowboys?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He was gonna teach Tully how to be a pro football player. But Tully got in a accident, and his, your lat muscles, the muscles under your armpit that goes down to your back. It was an accident and just destroyed it, and he couldn't throw the ball like he used to. I guess that's why he got into wrestling. But anyway, I'm walking with him one day, and he's mouthing off to one of the other guys. I said, "Shut the fuck up, Tully. Nobody wants to hear your shit." And I got it because I knew what was going to happen. They were either going to come to blows or else whatever. But anyway, and I wrote in my book, I said, "You were a real prick." He laughed at me. I hadn't seen Tully in 30, 40 years. And he said, I heard what you called me in the book. He said, "Yes, I was." Okay, fine. He admitted it. Go on. No big deal.
There you go.
But that was the way it was.
There you go. Well, while we're on...
Let me just skip.
oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead, Mike.
Scott, Phil DeCesare out there is asking, how was Bruiser Mr. Pile driver Bob Sweeten in real life?
Strange.
Okay.
I'll tell you that way. I heard he went to prison for doing something with some child or something like that. I don't know. But he worked with me because I've been in the business long enough that they respected me. It's just like, give me an example of being respected. I'm in, North Carolina, and George Scott was a booker. He said, "Scott, do you know anything about John Valentine?" I said, "No, I know he's a great wrestler." He said, "Well, fight for your life." And the word work was not in the vocabulary there. So we get out in the ring, and he is swailing the piss out of me. Not in the groin and not in the face, the stomach, the chest, the back, whatever. And he just had me black and blue all over. And I thought to myself, Scott, you're 1,500 miles away from Texas, but I'll be goddamn if I let anybody beat on me without giving them a receipt. And I started wailing on him, and he knocked me out on the apron. And Angelo Martinelli was an old-time referee. They're talking. John had long blonde hair. His son is Greg Valentine, in case you don't know who he is.
Of course.
But anyway, he said, I'm on the apron, and I grabbed the rope and pulled myself up. And, gentlemen, I never hit anybody this hard in my life. I caught him with a forearm across the chest and buckled his knees. He just, and he goes, I love it. And I went, oh, this guy's either nuts or he's crazier than nuts. And after that, we got in the ring. He was just as light as a feather.
Wow.
But he just, back then, the old-timers wanted to see if you had enough guts to stay in there with them. And they don't do that now. I don't know what the hell they do now, but they're flying around like birds and all that crap.
Was it the money that kept you going? Why would you want to take such a massive beating all the time? What kept you involved in staying a pro wrestler? It doesn't sound very glorious.
It's not. It's not. You learn. You got what they call respect. If you could have a match, a wrestling match back when I was doing it, you'd start out and you'd have holes, get in and out of them, whatever. Suplex, maybe a suplex once in a great while, but I had the burning desire to be good at what I wanted to be at. I left my first wife because I wanted to wrestle, and she didn't want to go on the road, so there I was out there by myself learning how to do it. And it's just, it's if somebody would say, "Oh, you can't do that, Scott." Well, watch me.
There you go.
I mean, when I walk through the curtains at Madison Square Garden, the mecca of wrestling, I thought to myself, now all you doubting Thomases said I was never big enough, I was never tough enough, I could not do this or that, and I'm in the ring wrestling in a semi-main event, and with one of the Samoan boys, and I can't think of his name. But anyway, I did it. I learned how to do it, and I got respect over the years. I did it for 22 years, and I thought to myself, yeah, now tell me I can't do it.
There you go.
It all depends on the desire and how you feel about it. You know, being able to do 500 jumping squats, being able to do this and that. Then they had Ernie Ladd. You remember Ernie Ladd?
Oh.
Great big black.
Of course.
He was 6'9".
He was great.
He played ball for the Kansas City Chiefs in the first Super Bowl. Now, he said, I want a move that I can do that I don't kill myself, but it looks like it. He said, I'll teach you how to do what they call a hangman. A hangman was, if you threw me in the ropes, you kind of semi-tripped, and you stuck your head between the top rope and the second rope, and you did a cartwheel. Oh, now you're laying in the ring with the ropes around your neck, and people are going, God, is he going to be all right? And I only did it a few times because Ernie said, you can break your neck. And I thought, only in an extreme match would I do something like that. But like I'm saying, don't tell me no. I'll prove you wrong. And I did.
And you did.
And I'm not being braggadocious about it. It's just, I wanted to be the best of what I could be at. I mean, I did bumps and twists and flips and turns over the top rope. It looked like they killed me. And by all rights, I probably should have been. But you learn how to take care of yourself. And like Wahoo McDaniel, who I'm sure you know who that is, but he said, well, back when I was doing it, they had 2 out of 3 fall matches. And I locked up with Dory Funk Jr. in a 2 out of 3 fall match. And when I did, I snapped my little finger on my left hand, and it was kind of hanging down. We did the first fall. I'm going back to the dressing room. I'm leading up to something here. And I go back to the dressing room, and I'm hollering, crying, carrying on. Wahoo said, boy, shut the fuck up. Anybody ever tell you had to do this for a living? No, goddamn. He said, I'm looking at my finger. He said, tape it up. He said, you can find sympathy. Now, this was told to me 40 fucking years ago. He said, you can find sympathy alphabetically in the dictionary between shit and syphilis.
Oh, my God.
Nice.
Oh, my God. Scott, can you tell us what World Class Championship Wrestling was like at its height? Because, we didn't get to see as much of it as we wanted to living here in New York. How hot was WCCW back when you were around there?
I'm sure that they were afraid that us damn rebels were going to take over New York and everywhere else. We had the biggest guys, the meanest guys, one-man gang.
Yeah.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of some of the other names.
Well, I know Brody went through there. Yeah. Hey, Bruiser Brody went through Texas, obviously.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story on Brody since you're there. Brody was there, the Monks were there, Ricky Romero, All of them were in Amarillo. So, Bruiser was going to go to Japan. That's where he made his money, in Japan. I mean, the guy would make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a week.
Wow.
It depends on what the show did. Yeah, that's still damn good money.
Well, Brody was a traveling show. Brody was a specialist in some ways.
I'm leading up something here.
Hit it.
We're all in the dressing room. Dorian Terry, Dick Murdoch, Ricky Romero, and they told Brody, they said, we want you to drop the belt to Terry. And for some reason, he did not like the Funks, did not like Dick Murdoch, did not like Ricky Romero. He said, no, I'm going to drop it to Scott. And they looked at him, oh, you can't do that. He can't carry the belt. He didn't do this or that. He said, yeah, he will. And we were in Corpus Christi. So I'm out there, and he said, you're going to beat me right in the middle with a suplex. Okay. I'm not going to tell Frank, well, that was his real name, Frank Goodish. I'm not going to tell him that he can't drop it for me. I said, you're making a lot of enemies. He said, yeah. He said, but I still draw money when I come back. That was the name of the game. So, and he did. He dropped the belt to me. I beat him right square in the middle. And very seldom you find anybody that could say that they did that. But Frank and I were about the same age, and he thought the world of me. Drove me nuts sometimes, but he still was a good man. And I hated when he died. God damn, what a horrible way to go. But anyway, I have another story. I've got hours of this shit. I don't know how much money you guys got, but if you want it, I can come back or whatever. Anyway.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Nothing.
I'm counting my money right now, but go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Let me see. That's a nickel. I got a dime here. Wait a minute.
Go ahead, Scott.
I'll tell you the story. That night when he dropped the belt to me, Bruiser, it had been a terrific hurricane come through. And we were going back up to San Antonio. And there's mile markers on the highway that tells you where you've been or where you're going, whatever. I had to gather my thoughts on this because it's been a while since I've told any of these. But anyway, we get out to the car after the match, and I got the belt, and the folks and all of them are going nuts. Anyway, we're going back, and as I'm talking to you on the phone, my name is Scott Casey, and as I did it for 22 years, this happened. We're going back up to San Antonio. So, all of a sudden, we see red, green, orange, blue, yellow, different lights shooting up in the sky. And Wahoo had his Cadillac, and I'm in the front seat with him, and trying to think. Neil Maskers and Tom Jones, a black wrestler, were in the back. And we're seeing these mile markers, and these lights are getting very intense. And I'm going, fuck, what's going on? We came around a corner, and like I said before, this is Scott Casey talking to you. There's a UFO out in the field. It was probably, I want to say, it was hovering up off the ground about, and I hadn't been drinking tonight, boys. I'm telling you the truth.
Okay.
Anyway, I wish I had been, but anyway, we stopped, and Wahoo goes, damn, We'll see if we can knock on the door and book them on the next show. I said, you out of your goddamn mind? I said, you get out of this car, you walk your fat ass back to San Antonio. And honest to God, the Mascus is talking in Spanish. Tom Jones, oh Lord, oh my. And I'm looking at the Wahoo going, don't you do it.
So wait a minute. Scott Casey, Mil Mascaris, and Wahoo McDaniel are claiming they saw a UFO.
Yeah, well, but Wahoo's dead, and so is Tom Jones. And when I saw, they did. Anyway.
Wow.
I was at the gathering. I think that's what they call it in Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
Where all the guys together. I don't know whether you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I walked up to Mascus. I said, do you remember? He said, couldn't believe it. He said, I never prayed so much in my life. And I said, well, we saw it. I said, at least we know we can verify from each other. But now, Wahoo's dead. Tom Jones is dead. So it's just me and Mascus.
Well, we know.
He said, yeah. I remember it very well.
We know that Wahoo didn't book the aliens for a show, but, I mean, what happened to the UFO once you saw it? Did it just shoot into the sky? I mean, you turn the corner, you see one. What happens next?
No, well, what happened was we pulled up to it, and we slowed down. I told Wahoo, I said, don't you fucking stop. I don't want to go to Xanadu or someplace like that just because of something from a different part of the world or whatever. And he didn't. He kept going.
Okay.
But I think he was scared too, but he didn't act like it. That was the toughest man I've ever met in my life. Did you guys ever get to watch Wahoo wrestle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. He was, you know, well, I don't know how much of a comparison it is, but the guy was built like Samoa Joe. He was a big boy. Yeah. He was a big boy.
Plus, we're both Jet fans, Scott. We're both Jet fans.
Yeah, and Wahoo was a Jet.
Wahoo was a Jet, so...
Yeah, so we love Wahoo.
Yeah, we love Wahoo.
Well, anyway, he literally... Well, let me back up and say Wahoo played pro football for the Dallas Texans before they became the Dallas Cowboys, and also for the New York Jets.
Well, he really played... Wait, he really paid for the New York Jets first.
Dallas Texans.
Before the Dallas Texans.
That's terrible.
He said okay, but anyway.
He's like, whatever, guys.
Go ahead, Scott.
He was tough.
Oh, yeah, he was. I bet. Especially if he wanted to go straight up to the UFO.
This story, Wahoo was always kind of a miserable son of a bitch. And he was, I said one day, his real name was Ed McDaniel. I said, Ed, what the fuck is the matter with you? He said, I went to the doctor today. They cut a cyst out of his asshole. All right?
So much for salad.
I said, you're going to go to a fucking match and wrestle? Boy, I don't pay to see sick wrestlers. You can find sympathy between shit and syphilis, blah, blah, blah.
Ooh.
And he went up, and it was so funny because he stopped at a 7-Eleven and said, go get me a box of Kotex. Never call me Scott. Never call me Casey. Even when I was a champion, I was always motherfucker. Now, why the fuck would... They have no fucking idea, but I'm not going to tell him he can't do that. But, oh, man, I mean, I had so many guys that were just crazier than a March hare, but were great in the ring. And, you know, you never really knew what they were like. I mean, we'd drive to the matches and then drive back home, and you wouldn't see them until the next night. Yeah. And it's just that's the way it was back then.
Hey, Scott, I want to kind of bring you back to...
I don't know.
I want to bring you back to the WCCW. I want to talk to you about the Von Erichs. What was it like working with the Von Erichs, and what did they have did you see the problems they were having growing up into this industry under Fritz?
Well, I'm going to piss a lot of Von Erich fans off, but they did drugs, you know. I mean, we went to Israel, and they had the president of the country and a bunch of other people there, movie stars who I didn't know who they were. Anyway, they could not get the Von Erichs sobered up enough. I don't know whether they were on what they were on, but they were just a mess, you know. And people love them still to this day. And folks, I liked them. I had fun with them. I never ran with them. They ran with the brothers. That was it. They didn't run with the guys. Chris Adams, you name it. All the guys that wrestled were just, I don't have to put, they were into themselves.
Why couldn't
You know,
Fritz,
and,
why do you think Fritz couldn't keep them in order? Because if you think about it, if they didn't have the problems they had, like you said, that territory with Kerry and David and Kevin, God knows what you guys could have done. Gino, Chris Adams.
Yeah. Bruiser Brody
well,
stopping by.
we had a match at, what was it? Where the Cowboys used to play football. Texas Stadium or something like that. Anyway.
In Arlington.
We almost sold the whole damn place out. It was like 40, 50, 60,000 people there. And I don't know, it's just, the people just loved them. And I was friends with them. But only one time, Kerry, he'd come in there and get himself ready or whatever. Well, you put itching powder in my tights, and I didn't know it. Ooh. And I told him, I said, "You son of a bitch." He started laughing. He said, "All right, here's a pair of mine. Go out there and do your thing." But they stayed with each other. It's like the rest of us were just part of the show. You know, I mean, I'll give you a prime example. Kerry was given a new Corvette each year that he was there to drive. It was like they were gods or something, and they were promoted that way.
Scott, were they safe? Were they safe to work with? I mean, considering you're telling me that they were high half the time, were they safe to work with? Did you ever worry about that?
Well, I'll tell you a story. Ric Flair was wrestling Kerry for the belt. Kerry was so fucked up. I'm sorry, folks. I was there. It happened. And he was so fucked up, he couldn't even get in the ring. But they put him in a high school shower to wrestle for the belt. You know, they had a sellout crowd. He finally got in the ring and he had a match. It was a good match. And how he could do that the way it was, I don't know. I really don't. But that's that was his lifestyle, you know. And
but did you
tell me a guy that was nuts because, what did he do? Shoot himself in the chest with a pistol? Yeah. And another one took drugs. Yeah. And I hate saying things bad about the dead, but it was a different world. It really was, you know. And the way they did the thing, it was different. That's all I can say. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to talk bad about the dead, but goddamn, when they were alive, they would do silly, stupid shit. Yeah. What Kerry did, rode a motorcycle and tore his foot off, and they put it back on, didn't last. He had a prosthetic foot, and that's just the way it was.
As a wrestler in that organization, though, did you guys feel comfortable enough to go to Fritz and say, "Get the boys under control"? You guys are blowing this here, or
would anyone dare?
They they could have gone out and kissed a monkey's ass, and people would have loved it.
Monkey's
They
ass?
didn't care.
Oof.
Still, man, I mean, it was his business, and it was his boys. So what are you gonna do? You know, I mean, if you were a heel, you can make some extra money, but as a baby face, you're not gonna do it simply because they were the wrestling mecca, and like I said, I apologize to the fans that love him and that would. I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but it was tough sometimes, and just the way it was, you know.
Hey, Scott, we're about out of time. We're going to hit you something with something called the Pharaoh's Final Question. Once again, we want to thank you for coming on Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. It's an honor to have such an icon like yourself on our show. So we want to thank you again. And just a shout out real quick for fans out there, you could read more about Scott Casey's life in wrestling is in One Last Ride, written by Captain Nick Massey along with Scott Casey. Jimmy, Pharaoh's final question, sir.
All righty. Scott, being that we've spent a lot of time talking about Texas tonight, who, in your opinion, is the greatest professional wrestler to come out of Texas?
That'd be hard to say. I guess probably Terry.
Terry Funk?
You know, I mean, nobody looked like him. Nobody could do what he did in the ring, and it might have been a dysfunctional family, but they could do their thing in the ring. I mean, Kevin barefooted, Terry, the way he looks, I would say probably Terry. Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, you know, I just one thing maybe you could appease me with. You know, we grew up in the WWE up here, and we really didn't get to talk about WWE talk. But again, what we saw of like Southern wrestling was, you know, when cable started to grow, whatever else. But I'm sure you wrestled with a guy named Eddie Mansfield. I think you're actually would be friends with him. I asked this to Johnny Rods when he was on the show, so I'll ask this to you. Whenever I hear Eddie on these podcasts, he's always bragging about selling out arenas or whatever else. And for what we know of Eddie Mansfield, he was just whatever. Johnny said Eddie couldn't sell out a 200-person arena. You worked with him. Could Eddie Mansfield sell out these arenas, or tell us about Eddie Mansfield?
Eddie has an ego the size of the Empire State Building, but anyway, he was in the ring with me. I mean, we wrestled many times, and we sold out the Hemisphere Arena, and he exposed the business big time, and the guys were, you know, trying to make a living, and him doing his thing like that, it upset a lot of people. But he had talent. He could talk. My God, that man could talk on a microphone. And it's like Wahoo said to me one time, you can't talk, you can't walk, you're not going to be in the business. And but that was it. You know, they have a thing called the Legends with Brian Blair and all the guys, and hold on, hon. I can't walk and talk and chew gum at the same time, so, and she's trying to tell me something.
That was Eddie.
Yeah. But anyway, he was good in the ring, but he shot himself in the foot with the rest of us. You know, but anyway, and I hadn't talked to him in years, and somehow he got a hold of me, and I told him, I said, come to the Legends meeting. You know, they have it down in Tampa, Florida. Oh, I can't go down there. Everybody hates me. I said, fuck, that was 40 years ago, Eddie. Who cares? And he went and had a great time. And he has a podcast of his own somewhere. I don't know. But I told him, I said, nobody cares. The business has been so exposed now. There's no way you could hurt it again. I mean, you could do anything in the world, and people would still come back and watch the matches. And, I said, that's the way it was. But like I said, Eddie, he could walk, he could talk, and he could do things. And walk and talk and do as many different things in the ring as any of the guys that can do it now. I will say that for him.
All right.
And yeah.
Well, Scott,
Anyway.
I want to thank you again for joining us. We'd love to have you back on. I'll contact you later on, and thank you again for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Okay, turn the radio off and I need to ask you something. Okay?
All right, hold on. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll call you after the show. Can you give me like 5 minutes? Okay. All right. I'll call you in 5.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Scott.
All right.
He'll call you on his phone. Anyway,
So, Scott Casey, what are you thinking?
he's awesome.
It's good, right?
He's down to earth. He's awesome. I only have one question.
Go ahead.
Didn't we have him in our studio like years back, and he didn't come on the air?
Well, that's my fault.
Is that what happened? Wait a minute. Really? Yeah, you refused to toss salad, didn't you?
I was just like,
What? You were like, That's rough. Oh, yeah, enjoy that phone call in 5 minutes.
No, wait a minute. Hold on.
the fuck?
Hold on.
What? Read the fine ad. Go ahead. I'm trying to give you
I guess I can,
I
really.
guess you can.
Guess you just
I tell you
rolled
what,
me right
I'll
in.
call him in 5 minutes. He really loves you, man. He loves you. No, you
It
gave
wasn't
gold. You
that,
gave
dude.
gold, brother.
Dude,
gold.
It wasn't that. At that.
No, I know.
That
I
day
remember
we had
seeing him the
Hillbilly.
next
We
day.
had Hillbilly
Yeah,
Jim
we had
and
a million
whole
people.
It was like we were going nonstop, and
Yeah.
someone so was like, "Hey."
He was cool too. He
No,
was
it was-
chilling
no,
out.
he was a
I
good
remember
guy.
he was chilling
Really
out. I was
good
like
guy.
thinking to myself, how come he's not on the couch? Everybody, we had a lot of people that day. That's got something to do.
That's
with it.
got
for
something
sure.
to do
And I
with
saw
it.
him the next day. Yeah, I did. I saw him the next day.
All right. Anyway, want to thank you guys for joining us.
At the
Thank you
convention.
for helping Billy. Don't forget, like if you can, order some stuff for Christmas. Use the MNP discount for Manscaped.
Yeah.
Again, Sunday, we're back here with Maven in studio on the
That's
couch.
cool.
Tony
That's cool.
Atlas in a very special
That's cool.
Merry Christmas show for everybody. We thought we'd have
right.
some fun with that.
All right.
So we'll see you on Sunday. Pharaoh, any thoughts before we go out? You want to just real quick tell everybody your thoughts on the
On what?
firing of Mandy Rose? Can you caption it real quick?
The firing of Mandy Rose.
Or the
Shocked.
releasing of Mandy Rose.
Shocked when I heard it. I suspect that there might have been some ladies in the locker room, even on the main program, that she didn't get along with. I think she's making a mistake, though. I don't think it would have been worth it to show my stuff and lose your job. That's a hell of a job she had. So I'm not too thrilled with that.
Well, still a lot to go over. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
be talking in on weeks on over, right?
Yeah, it's going to
We
continue.
don't know whether she said, "Hey, I want out."
Right.
We don't know. They said, "Hey, you got to go."
Right.
Don't really know.
Right.
I want to thank everybody out there. Yard Ape, thank you. RJ,
Yard Ape.
thank you. First Lady of
RJ.
Wrestling, thank you. MF Sports, thank you for the hookup, my friend.
Thank you. Thank
Phil, thank you for the wonderful question and the bits.
Mr. Phil.
Really appreciate that, sir. Much needed. Want to thank you guys all again. You're getting the channel back into shape. So thank you. Thank you, Jimmy Pharaoh. Thank you, Jared. You were spot on as usual today. Unbelievable producing as ever. Purple Ginger. First time ever hearing you, right? I don't think we know Purple Ginger,
No.
right? So welcome aboard, Purple Ginger.
hello.
ESO Creative. And everybody else, have a wonderful day. We will see you Sunday, 5 o'clock to, and then 9 o'clock with Tony Alice. 5 o'clock, Maven, 9 o'clock, Tony Alice, and maybe we'll do a live show or just a flat-out show in between
Oh,
to
okay.
kill the time.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right?
All right,
Send us-
you've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. And until Sunday, later.